Hi students, good evening. Just let me know if I'm audible and I'm visible. Good evening everyone. Okay, so I'm audible and visible to everyone, right? Okay. So Rani, if the voice is not clear, can you kindly just refresh because for the other students it's clear. I'll just wait for a minute so that everyone can join and then we'll start with the session. Good evening everyone. So meanwhile, how was the test? Did you find it better than the previous science and tech one, or was it, more difficult, more challenging? So how did you find it to be? Okay. Yes, so many of you are saying that it was a difficult test, which is indeed. Yes, it had more factual questions, right? It had a lot of factual questions. So yes, definitely it was more difficult compared to the previous question, which was previous paper, which was more conceptual in nature. Okay, now let us start with the session now. So just like the previous session, in this session also I won't be taking up all the 100 questions, okay? Because many of the questions, they were quite factual in nature. So I'll be taking a few selected questions which had certain conceptual components associated with them, so that those concepts, they can be properly explained to you, right? Because factual things you can just read and know, right? But concepts you need to understand. So I've taken a few questions out of these 100 questions. And okay, so some people are saying my voice and the video both are not clear. Just let me know, please. Just once again, just let me know whether it's clear to everyone or there are some issues. Otherwise, we'll check. Okay, so for most of the people, the voice is clear. Okay, so if it's not clear, please try to refresh your window. So we'll start with the questions. So this is the first question. I'll try to go in a very fast pace so that I can cover most of the questions. Okay. So this is question 4. Question 1, 2, and 3. They are some issue. Just a second. Okay, I'm so sorry. Is it better now? There was some issue with the mic, I guess. Okay, great. So let us, without any further delay, let us start with the session. So question 1, 2, and 3, they were very factual in nature, so I've skipped them. I've come to question number 4 directly. Okay. So question number 4 was about event horizon. So event horizon of a black hole. So the statements were, within the event horizon, the escape velocity of any object is more than the speed of light. Depending on the nature of the black hole, it can have multiple event horizons. The size of the event horizon is independent of the mass of the black hole. The Event Horizon Telescope is a global network of radio telescopes that directly observe the immediate environment of a black hole. Now, what is something called escape velocity? For example, there is a rocket that needs to go away from the Earth. Okay, it needs to go outside the Earth. So there is certain amount of power that the engine of this particular rocket should induce so that it can negate the gravitational pull of the Earth. So the minimum velocity with which any particular particle or any particular object needs to go away from another bigger object which has gravity, that is known as escape velocity. So that this particle can escape the gravitational pull of this particular entity. So that is escape velocity. Now in the case of black holes, what happens? even the light, it gets subsumed inside the black hole, right? So what does that mean? That even the velocity of light is less than the escape velocity that is required in case of any object which is going towards the black hole. So yes, escape velocity of any object is more than the speed of light within the event horizon. Okay, so this is correct. Now, depending upon the nature of black hole, it can have multiple event horizons. Now, black holes usually, they have a single event horizon. Event horizon is the outer boundary of a black hole. So this is the center, which is also known as singularity. And this outer boundary is called event horizon. If any object, it breaches this outer boundary, then there is no way that that object can escape from the black hole. It will get subsumed or sucked into the black hole. This radius between the singularity or the center of the black hole and the event horizon, it has a certain name known as Schwarzschild radius. Okay, so this is Schwarzschild radius. Now, depending on the nature of the black hole, yes, it can have multiple event horizons. Now, there are certain black holes which are rotating along an axis. So, for them, the singularity is not a point. It is what? It is a circle. And event horizon, it is not a single sphere. It is multiple spheres. So, this is in very rare cases that this happens. Okay. So, this is also correct. Then the size of event horizon is not independent. It is dependent. This Schwarzschild radius that determines the size of the event horizon, it completely depends upon the mass of the black hole. So this is a wrong statement. Event Horizon Telescope, yes, this telescope is a global network of radio telescopes that directly observe the immediate environment of black holes. So this is a factual statement which is correct. So what is our correct answer? We had to determine the correct statement. The correct answer is C. Now we move to the next question. With reference to nuclear submarines and diesel submarines, consider the following statements. Nuclear submarines are always quieter than diesel electric submarines. Nuclear submarines have the ability to remain underwater for longer periods compared to the traditional diesel electric submarines. While INS Arihant is a conventional diesel electric, INS Wagir is nuclear powered. Now, nuclear submarines are those which are powered by nuclear energy. Diesel submarines are powered by diesel, right? So diesel leads to generation of electricity, and this electricity is used to move the submarine. Same in case of nuclear. However, in nuclear submarines, there is more amount of noise of the nuclear reactor. In diesel submarines, because it is purely an electric vehicle, because the diesel is producing electricity which is used to move the submarine, so that is why it has lower amount of noise, whereas the equipment of nuclear submarines, they make more noise. So this is incorrect. Now, nuclear submarines, they do have an ability to remain underwater for longer periods, but the diesel submarines, what happens with them? They need to come near to the surface or to the surface of the ocean or the water in order to get oxygen or air. It sucks in the air so that this air can be used to ignite the diesel, which is then used to produce the electricity. Okay. Ashish, these are questions of PTS that happened on Sunday, that is science and technology. Okay. Okay. So diesel produce electricity. Okay. So they require constant inlet of air. So they can remain under the water only for a certain duration. Once it runs out of the air, it needs to come up to the surface in order to keep on moving. So this is correct. So this is a factual statement. Now, INS Arihant, it is not a conventional diesel electric submarine. It is a nuclear submarine. First indigenously built nuclear submarine of India. INS Wagir, which is a Kalvari class submarine. It is a diesel electric submarine. Now the Kalvari class submarines, it has 6 submarines and their names, 3 are from K, 3 are from V. Okay, so that is an easier way to remember the names of the Kalvari class submarines. So out of these, which are the correct statements? Only statement 2 is correct. Now the next question. In context of rice fortification in India, consider the following: coating, dusting, extrusion. Now what is fortification? Fortification means increasing the nutrient content of the food. Now food fortification at larger scale, it started first in 1920s in Switzerland. And in India, it started in 1950s, where the fortification of salt first started. Salt, it was added with extra iodine. To prevent what? What is the disease that is caused due to less amount of iodine in the body? It is goiter. Okay. So recently in 2016, the FSSAI, Food Safety and Standards, Food Standards and Safety Authority of India, it released certain guidelines regarding food fortification in the country. Now, these guidelines also included how to fortify rice. Now, rice, wheat, and milk fortification, it started in the country in early 2000s. Okay, so rice fortification, it includes all these 3 processes: coating the rice with certain liquid that is rich in these minerals and vitamins, dusting the rice with very small particles so that these particles, they get attached to the rice kernels, the small particles of rice. So these small particles of vitamins and minerals, they get attached to the outer layer or the kernel of the rice, and when consumed, they can go inside your body. Then there is another process called extrusion. Now in extrusion, please listen carefully what happens. Okay, so this is the amount of rice you have. Some of it, it is taken out and it is converted into rice flour. Okay, rice flour, rice atta. Now this rice flour, it is mixed with water, vitamins and minerals. And then it goes inside a machine known as extruder. What does this extruder do? Extruder converts this rice flour, which is mixed with all these 3, into particles or kernels that resemble the actual rice. So this extruder's output, it resembles rice grains. Now these kernels, they are then added to the remaining rice. So rice plus extruded rice. So this is another way of fortifying the rice. So the correct answer here is B. Okay. So Saurabh, in short, coating is just coating with a liquid. Dusting is dusting with a powder which is rich in vitamin and minerals. And extrusion means converting a part of the rice into a flour. Then this flour is mixed with water, vitamins and minerals. Then it is placed in a machine called extruder, whose output is particles or grains which look like rice grains but are made up of this rice flour plus this particles. Now these kernels which are obtained out of the extruder, they are then mixed with the actual rice, the remaining rice, and we get the fortified rice. Okay. So dusting, Namita, I've repeated it once. I'm sure it's clear, right? Yes, Rani, there is a certain proportion with which the amount of rice is taken. That proportion is available in your PDF. I am not able to remember it right now. Okay. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. Consider the following statements with reference to neutrinos. Neutrinos are created during radioactive decay. Nandini, extrusion, I'll repeat in a very short way. A part of the rice is taken, it is converted or into a rice flour. It is mixed with water, vitamins and minerals, and this entire mixture is put into an extruder. This extruder releases or produces certain grains out of this mixture which look like rice grains. Then these grains, they are then mixed with rice, original rice, a part of which was taken and converted here. Okay. Rice fortification, Kusuma, is increasing the amount of nutrients in rice. Food fortification is basically increasing the amount of nutrients in any food. Okay, so this question, we'll start with this question. Consider the following statements with reference to neutrinos. Neutrinos are created during radioactive decay and are one of the most abundant particles in the universe. As they instantly react with matter, it is difficult to isolate them and conduct an in-depth study. Neutrinos might be used in monitoring the compliance of Treaty of Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons by different nations. Now, what are neutrinos? Now, neutrinos are certain subatomic particles. Okay? So, these are subatomic particles, and a very important characteristic of neutrinos is that they have almost zero mass, and they also do not have any charge. Like electrons, they are negatively charged. The protons, they are positively charged. Neutrons, they do not have any charge. So neutrinos also do not have any charge, but unlike neutrons, they also have almost nil mass. So they are one of the lightest subatomic particles. Okay. So this is wrong. Why? Because they do not interact with matter. To interact with matter, they either need to have certain amount of charge or certain amount of mass. That is how they'll react with the matter, right? But because they don't have any of these, they rarely interact with matter, and that is why they are very difficult to detect. Okay, so that is about neutrinos. Now they are created during either fusion or fission. So any radioactive reaction, be it fission or be it fusion, they lead to creation of neutrinos, and they definitely are one of the most abundant particles. But because they are not easily detectable, that is why we do not know much about them. They are also known as ghost particles. We know they exist, but we don't know anything else about them. So this is correct. Yes, Abhishek, they travel almost at the speed of light. Now, neutrinos, yes, they can be used in monitoring the compliance of these treaties. However, since we do not know how to detect neutrinos properly, this technology has not been put in place. So how can they be used for detecting non-proliferation? So what happens in civilian nuclear plants when the uranium-235, it undergoes fission reaction, a part of it gets converted into plutonium. No, Dheeraj, neutrons are not neutrinos. They are two separate particles. Neutrons have mass, neutrinos do not have, they have almost zero mass. Okay. So this uranium, some part of it, it gets converted into plutonium. Okay. So this plutonium, it is used in nuclear weapons. So this is highly useful in case of nuclear weapons. So what happens when the fusion or when the fission reaction is taking place, there are certain neutrinos that are released. However, if a country has to extract this plutonium out of the reactor to use it for their weapons, they'll have to stop the reactor. Now, if the reactor is stopped, the production of neutrinos will stop, and the neutrino detector, it will give a signal that it is not detecting any neutrinos anymore. So that will help the agencies, the IAEA and other agencies, to identify that yes, this civil nuclear plant, it is being stopped for extraction of plutonium. So that is how the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons treaty, it can be put into place, it can be monitored using neutrinos. But however, right now we do not have the technology for this. But this is correct. So 1 and 3 are correct statements. So our correct answer here is B. Okay. Nadiman, radioactive decay means that any radioactive material, it decays over time. It loses its mass in form of various radiations, alpha, beta or gamma radiation. So that is radioactive decay. So Saurabh, I'll just repeat it in short. See, we do not have much time and a lot of questions, okay? So please listen to all the questions very carefully. So neutrinos, Saurabh, which part do you want me to repeat? Shivam, neutrino and neutron are different. Neutron have a mass, but no charge, okay? Neutrinos, they have almost zero mass and they have a charge and they move almost at the speed of light. Okay. So this I'll repeat. Now what happens when the fission reaction takes place in any nuclear reactor? There is release of certain neutrinos. Okay. So during fission reaction, if the fission reaction stops, the neutrino detector will identify that the fission reaction has stopped because the production of neutrinos has also stopped. Okay. So if any country wants to extract plutonium from the nuclear reactor, because some amount of uranium-235 during the fission, it gets converted into plutonium. So if any country wants to extract this plutonium, which is useful in nuclear weapons, then they'll have to stop the nuclear reactor for a while. Now, if the nuclear reactor is stopped for a while, the production of neutrinos will also stop. So what will happen? There will be, the detector will say that there is no production of neutrinos now, and that is why the agencies, the monitoring agencies will identify that this country has stopped their nuclear reactor because they want to extract plutonium out of the entire thing. Okay. Consider the following statements. The size of a launch vehicle is dictated by the destination in the space it is headed towards. Most of the rocket's energy is burnt in traveling to low Earth orbit compared to the journey farther into the space. Energy expended by a spacecraft in reaching any other celestial body would be less than the energy required to deposit a satellite on the space orbit. Okay, so we have to identify which of the statements are correct. Okay, so this is a correct statement. Yes, depending upon the destination, how far away the launch needs to take place, whether it is on moon, whether it is on Mars, whether it's on Jupiter, or so on. Depending upon the distance, the size of the launch vehicle, it will also change, because the amount of fuel required for the various distances, they will change. For moon, minimum amount of fuel. Mars, more than that. Jupiter, more than that. Even beyond, even more than that. Okay, so this is correct. This is also correct. We just talked about something called escape velocity, right? So to escape the Earth's gravity, a lot of fuel is required. A lot of rocket's energy is burnt from traveling to lower Earth orbit from the ground. So ground to LEO, it is maximum amount of energy that is required, and compare that to journey farther into space, lesser amount of energy is required. Most amount of energy is required to get the escape velocity or escape the Earth's gravity. So this is a correct statement. Okay, what about this? The energy expended by spacecraft reaching any other celestial body would be less than energy required to deposit a satellite on a space orbit. So this is a planet. So from Earth, a rocket is released. Now this rocket, it needs to deposit a satellite in the orbit. Then the energy required will be lesser than the energy that will be required to reach the surface. Why? Because when it is going from here to the surface, it will have to decelerate itself. It will have to reduce its speed, because the gravity of the planet, it will be attracting the rocket a lot. So it will accelerate. the rocket will accelerate when it is going towards the surface. However, if the acceleration continues without getting checked, what will happen? It will crash onto the surface. We do not want such a crash to happen, right? So that is why the speed of this particular item or this particular rover or anything that is going on the surface of this planet, it needs to reduce itself. Okay, so it needs to work against this acceleration, so a high amount of energy will be required to decelerate that particular object that needs to be placed on the ground of this planet. Okay, so this is a wrong statement and a correct answer will be A. Consider the following statements regarding air-independent propulsion technology. Under this technology, fuel and an oxidant are required to generate electricity by either a heat engine or an electrochemical engine. It is a marine propulsion technology that allows the non-nuclear submarines to operate without access to atmospheric oxygen. So we studied about diesel submarines, right? So what was the drawback of these diesel submarines? They had to come to the surface to get air so that this air can be used as an oxidant to burn the diesel and generate electricity, right? So this technology of air-independent propulsion, it helps in reducing this disadvantage of diesel submarines. So what happens? There is a fuel, but along with that, there is also an oxidant that is present in the submarine itself. Now, oxidant, it provides oxygen to the fuel so that the fuel could burn. Okay, so anything when it burns, it requires certain amount of oxygen to burn itself. Okay, so if the oxidant is present on the board of the submarine itself, the submarine will not have to go to the surface to get or suck in some air which will provide oxygen to burn the fuel. Okay, so this is a correct statement. Yes, this air independent propulsion, no requirement of air, independent of air requirement. Air independent propulsion, yes, this technology has both a fuel and an oxidant that can generate electricity by either thermal manner or a chemical manner. And this can be used for propulsion of the submarine. So this is correct. This is also correct. It allows non-nuclear submarine like diesel submarine to operate without access to atmospheric oxygen. Okay, so the correct answer is C. Now the next question. Which of the above mentioned events could be possible impact of geomagnetic storms? So geomagnetic storms are created when the charged particles that are released through solar winds, they interact with Earth's magnetosphere, that is Earth's magnetic field. So that leads to the creation of geomagnetic storms. Now they are a common occurrence. However, their intensity can depend upon the amount of charged particles that are released through solar winds. So solar wind is a phenomena where a lot of charged particles, they are released from the corona of the sun. Okay, so these charged particles can cause problems in anything which is related to electromagnetism, electricity or magnetic impacts. Okay, so radio communication, yes, any kind of communication, it gets impacted due to these storms. So this is correct. Navigation system, they also depend on various communication systems, various satellites. So satellites, their working also gets disturbed due to these storms. So yes, it can lead to failure of navigational systems. Now auroras are formed when these charged particles, they interact with Earth's magnetic field and they release certain visible lights. So auroras, they are visible at the polar regions. In the northern hemisphere, Aurora Borealis, and in the southern region it's Aurora Australis at the southern pole and northern pole. Okay, so auroras are also created due to these geomagnetic storms. Okay, so okay Akhilesh, I'll try to write in a bigger font. Now what about disruption in the functioning of power grids? Now in power grids, what happened? This magnetic electromagnetism, these geomagnetic storms, they led to induced electricity. Now what is induced electricity? Electricity that gets generated due to magnetism. So electricity, because power grids are related to electricity, and anything related to electricity or magnetism, it will get impacted due to these storms. So this is also correct. Now what about this? Causation of earthquakes in equatorial regions. Now earthquakes, they are endogenetic. They are endogenetic processes that are caused due to any disturbances inside the earth. Okay, so there is no correlation as of now between any kind of geomagnetic storms and the earthquakes. So this is not correct, and our correct answer here is D. Saurabh, yes, air independent propulsion can be used above water, definitely. Thermal or electrochemical reactions can be used for production of energy. However, it is specifically created to eliminate the problem of diesel engines, of diesel submarines who had to come to the surface, and that's why they could be detected by the enemies. Okay. Now the next question. Consider the following pairs regarding missiles developed by India under Integrated Guided Missiles Program. Who was responsible for this program? Our previous president, APJ Abdul Kalam. Varsha, fifth option is wrong, because as of now, earthquakes, they are endogenetic processes. They are created due to disturbances inside the earth. Whereas the geomagnetic storms, they are created due to solar interference, right? So as of now, we do not have any correlation between earthquakes and geomagnetic storms. Okay, Stephen, I'll try to provide the explanation in an easier format, okay? So consider the following pairs regarding missiles developed by India under Integrated Guided Missiles Development Program and their characteristic features. So first is Prithvi 2 missile, indigenously developed nuclear capable missile. Agni P, first indigenous surface to air missile system. Akash, two-stage canistered solid propellant surface to surface ballistic missile. Dhanush, single stage liquid propelled missile capable of hitting both land and sea based targets. Now this is correct. Yes, Prithvi 2 is an indigenously developed missile which is capable of carrying nuclear warheads. Okay. What about Agni P? Now Agni P, it is not a surface to air missile. It is a surface to surface missile. Okay, so this is wrong. Yes, it is indigenously created, but all the ICBMs, all the missiles in this program, Integrated Guided Missile Development Program, they have been built indigenously. Okay. Now Akash is air, right? Sky. So it is not a surface to surface missile. It is surface to air. It is going to sky. Akash is related to sky. So it is surface to air. It is not surface to surface. It is a two-stage canistered solid propellant ballistic missile. However, it is surface to air. Then we have Dhanush. This is correct. It is a single stage liquid propelled missile which is capable of hitting both land and the sea based targets. So out of these, the only two pairs are correct and B is our correct answer. Now, question 12. Consider the following statements with reference to human genome editing. The editing of nuclear DNA using somatic cells editing therapies is form of heritable human genome editing. Heritable means it can go from a parent to an offspring. Shivam, Agni is a part of this, but in the question we have not considered it. We have considered only Agni P. Okay. The modifications in genes in reproductive cells using germline cell editing are transmitted from generation to generation. That is, they are heritable. They can transmit from a parent to offspring. CRISPR-Cas9, which is a technology which received a Nobel Prize in the year 2020. It can be used as a tool to edit the human genome with the intention of treating or preventing diseases. So there are two types of cells in our body. We have somatic cells and we have germ cells. Now, somatic cells are normal cells like your skin cells, like your blood cells, and germ cells are either the sperms or the eggs. Okay? So germs, whenever germ cells are edited upon, genes in reproductive cells, which are also known as germ cells, whenever they are edited upon, then it becomes a heritable thing. That is, these changes, they are passed on from the parent to the offspring. Okay. However, when somatic cells, they are edited upon, these cells, their new features, they do not get transferred from one generation to another generation. So this is wrong. This is correct. And this is also correct. CRISPR-Cas, it is also known as a genetic scissor. Now this technology, it is used to edit the genome. A part of it, it can be cut and it can be replaced with something else. So it is used for editing the human genome. So this technology, it received a Nobel Prize in the year 2020. Okay. So our correct answer for question number 12, it is A. I'm sorry. Yeah, we have to choose the incorrect statement. So the correct answer is A. At the present level of technological advancement, in which of the following fields is the recombinant DNA technology being used? Now, recombinant DNA technology means combining DNA. For example, DNA can be taken from a bacteria and it can be added to the DNA of a plant so that this plant becomes less susceptible or immune towards a particular disease. Okay, so this is called recombinant DNA technology. Multiple DNAs are combined to get a particular feature in any plant or animal. Okay, to insert human insulin gene into bacteria or yeast. This is being done because we are inserting this gene into bacteria or yeast, and this is helping us in production of insulin, further production of insulin in laboratories itself. Now, insulin is a very important drug for people who are suffering from intensive diabetes. So if we want the drug to be easily available, we want to increase its supply, and through this process the supply can be increased. Producing chymosin enzyme. Now this is an enzyme which is found in calves, that is offsprings of the cows, and it is used for production of cheese. So yes, this is also being produced in the labs using the recombinant DNA technology. Genetic testing for cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy. Yes, this technology, it is also used for diagnostics or diagnosing any particular disease to produce both insect and herbicide resistant crops. This is also correct. Rhea-chymosin is an enzyme which is used for production of cheese. It is usually found in calves. So to get the chymosin enzyme in a natural format, what happens? We have to cull the calves and get the enzyme from them. To prevent that, we are trying to use this recombinant DNA technology to produce this enzyme in the labs. This is correct. You know about BT cotton, which is resistant against bollworms. So this has been produced through recombinant DNA technology itself. So all the four are correct and our correct answer is D. See, genetic testing can be done through this recombinant technology. You don't need to go into further details about this. Just know that it can be used for diagnosis of certain diseases. Now this next question. Consider the following statements with reference to cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. Cruise missiles follow a path horizontal to the surface, whereas ballistic missiles, they follow a projectile trajectory over most of its flight path. Cruise missiles are powered by air-breathing engines, whereas ballistic missiles are propelled by a rocket engine throughout its flight period. Both cruise and ballistic missiles can have supersonic speed. Now, there are two types of missiles. We have cruise missiles. Example, BrahMos. Now, BrahMos is a cruise missile. Now, cruise missiles, they are almost horizontal to the surface. So, if they are shot from here till here, they'll follow this type of a trajectory. They'll cruise just above the surface. Okay, so they are cruise missiles. Other, we have ballistic missiles like Agni. So ballistic missiles, they follow a projectile path. So they go like this. Okay, so these are ballistic. And okay, I'll try to go a little slow. Okay, I am going fast only so that I can cover all the questions. Okay, so this is ballistic. This is cruise. So cruise missiles, they are, yes, powered by air-breathing engines. So cruise missiles, they have some amount of fuel. Okay. So this fuel is burnt using oxygen from the air. So this is called air-breathing engines. We breathe oxygen from air, right? We do not have a tank associated with them through which we are getting oxygen supply. We are breathing oxygen from the air. So cruise missiles, they also breathe oxygen from the air and they use this oxygen to burn the fuel and they move forward. Ballistic missiles, they are propelled by a rocket. So a rocket is there which propels or gives the initial momentum to the ballistic missile and then it stops. Then there is no source of power. So it just goes like this, then it starts falling because of the gravity. So that is why they follow a projectile path. So rockets, they are not giving them power throughout their motion. They are giving them power only in the initial part. They are just giving them the initial momentum and then they do not have any other power source. So this is a wrong statement. This is a correct statement. Yes, both of them, they can have supersonic speed. I'm talking about the third statement. They both can have supersonic speeds, that is speeds which are greater than the speed of sound. Okay. So both of them, they can be supersonic in nature. So our correct answer is except to both of them, that is D. Projectile trajectory is a trajectory like this. So if I throw this pen like this, in this manner, okay, for some time it will go like this. Then because it will not have any other source of power, it will start coming down because of gravity. So this is the projectile technology. Sorry, the projectile movement. Okay. Supersonic speed is any speed greater than the speed of sound. Air breathing technology, that is, they have fuel in them, they do not have any oxidizer. They do not have any oxygen. They have fuel inside them. They inhale oxygen from the surroundings, and then that burns the fuel, and that powers the cruise missiles throughout their trajectory. Okay. Yes, Maulya, we can say that all surface-to-air missiles must be ballistic because they need to follow a projectile path. Because anything in the air, it will be at certain height. It will not be near surface. Okay. So next question. With reference to weapons used during the recent Russia-Ukraine war, consider the following statements. Cluster bombs are precision weapons. Precision weapons, that is, they strike precisely. Precision weapons are what? They strike precisely on a particular target, okay? That are designed to injure or kill human beings indiscriminately over a large area. Now, precision weapon, you should know that it will be very precise. If in a big field, I have to hit a particular pole. In the precision technology, I can identify that particular pole and directly hit it. It will not indiscriminately hit multiple targets. It will precisely hit the target it is designated for. Okay. So this cannot be true. There cannot be indiscriminate killing over a large area if something is a precision weapon. So this is a wrong statement. In fact, cluster bombs, they are not precision weapons. They kill human beings indiscriminately over a large area. Now, cluster bombs, they are made up of various clusters of ammunition. Now, when they break, so this ammunition randomly, it hits various targets. So it has a lot of ammunition which randomly hits multiple targets in that area. So that is a cluster bomb. Then we have thermobaric weapons. Now, thermobaric weapons, also known as vacuum bombs, they use oxygen from the air for a large, high temperature blast. This is a correct statement because these weapons, which are also known as vacuum bombs, they use the oxygen from the surroundings to oxidize their fuel, and that releases a lot of thermal energy. They get burnt rapidly, and that produces a lot of heat. So even if the surroundings, they do not get destroyed because of the fire, they get destroyed because of the intense amount of heat that is produced. If you must have heard about bombs called mother of all bombs of USA and father of all bombs of Russia. So these are two thermobaric weapons. These weapons, they use oxygen from the air for a large, high temperature blast. Okay. So that is thermobaric weapons. So over here, what will be our correct answer? We have to identify the incorrect statement. So A. Next, consider the following statements with reference to quasars. Quasars are big stars of very high luminosity found in the center of some galaxies. They are powered by gas spiraling at a high velocity into an extremely large black hole. So quasars, they are also, that is a short form for quasi-stellar radio source. Okay. Stellar means something related to star. Quasi-stellar means something that looks like a star but actually is not a star. So this is wrong. Quasars are not stars. They are distant galaxies. They are very young galaxies. Okay. So please note, quasars, they look like stars, but in reality, they are very young galaxies at very distant locations, many billions of light years away from us. They are powered by gas spiraling at high velocity into an extremely large black hole. Now it is assumed, it is thought by the scientists that all the galaxies, they have at their centers a black hole. At Milky Way's center, we have a black hole known as Sagittarius A. Okay, so all the galaxies at their center, they have a black hole. This is a correct statement because according to studies, the quasars, they are powered by gas that is spiraling at a very high velocity towards the black hole. Now, young galaxies, they are made up of big clouds of gases, right? Now this gas, it is getting spiraled into the black hole, and that is why it is releasing, it is at a very high temperature. Now because of this high temperature, it is releasing a lot of radiations, which are both in visible and non-visible category, like visible light. That is why they are visible, okay? And also non-visible category like X-rays. They are releasing many electromagnetic radiations. These galaxies, these young galaxies, also known as quasars. So our correct answer here is, so we have to choose the correct statement. Correct statement is B. Which one of the following is the incorrect feature of S-400 air defense system recently acquired by India? Now this air defense system, it has been acquired. Please note, it is important both for international relations as well as science and tech, okay? So this is acquired from Russia by India. So it is an air defense system, which means that if there is any rocket, any aircraft coming inside Indian airspace, then this S-400 will detect that and it will also attack that. Okay. So out of these, this is correct. Why? Sorry, not this option, but this statement is correct because we have to find the incorrect feature. This statement is correct. It does not have the hit-to-kill ballistic missile defense technology. Okay, it does not have that as of now. Compared to Iran Iron Dome. Now, Iron Dome is a air defense technology used by Israel against any attacks from Palestine. Now, this Iron Dome, it has a capacity to protect an area of around 70 kilometer, whereas the S-400 has the capacity to protect much larger area. It has capacity for 600 kilometer. So this is also a correct statement. Now the third one says S-400 has a single layer defense while US THAAD system provides a multi-layer defense. Okay, so this is a wrong statement because it's in the opposite of that. THAAD, it provides a single layer of defense. It defends only against ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, or intermediate range missiles. Okay, it does not provide a multi-layer defense because S-400 can defend against ICBMs, against other missiles. It can also prevent against aircrafts, any enemy aircrafts, against any drones. So it has a more amount of protection that it provides. S-400 works with high speed and lower deployment time compared to American Patriot system. This American Patriot system, it is used in THAAD system. Okay. So yes, this is also a correct statement. The speed is higher. The speed of S-400 is 4.8 kmph, while speed of Patriot, it is just 1.38 kmph. Also, the deployment time for S-400 is just 5 minutes, while that for Patriot system is 25 minutes. So our correct answer here is C. Single layer defense means it defends only against these types of missiles, only against intercontinental ballistic missiles or intermediate range missiles. Whereas S-400, it provides a multi-layer defense. It protects us against these intercontinental missiles, against other types of ballistic, short-range ballistic missiles as well. It also protects against any aircrafts, against any drones which come to attack. Okay, so it provides a multi-layer defense system. So a correct answer is C. With reference to fundamental principles of matter, Higgs boson, consider the following statements. It is a fundamental particle which is responsible for giving mass to electrons. Discovery of Higgs boson was made at CERN's Large Hadron Collider in 2012. It is the only boson predicted by the Standard Model theory of fundamental particles and how they react. Now, in particle physics, there are two types of particles. Do not go into further detail with that, is not necessary for UPSC. Just know that there are two types of particles. One is bosons, and then we have fermions. Now, all the particles, all the subatomic particles have a certain spin associated with them. Okay, so for the bosons, the spin is either 0 or it is in integers like +-1, +-2, and so on. It has an integral spin. Fermions, they have non-integral spins. Non-integral, that is decimal spins. They have +-1/2, +-2/3, and so on. Okay, so there are certain spins that are associated with these particles. If they are integral, they are known as bosons. For example, photon. Photon has a 0 spin. Then fermions, for example, neutrino is a fermion. Its spin is 1/2. Proton is a fermion. Electron is a fermion, and so on. Okay, no need to go into further detail. So Higgs boson, it is a boson that is responsible for giving mass to all the particles in the universe. So when we interact with this field of Higgs boson, that is when we get certain mass associated with us. Okay, so yes, this is true. It is a fundamental particles responsible for giving mass to not just electrons but all the particles. Okay, the discovery of Higgs boson, yes, this is true. In CERN's Large Hadron Collider, it was first detected in the year 2012. However, the theory of this, it was given in 1960s by a person called Peter Higgs. Okay, so Peter Higgs in 1960s gave the theory. It was detected first in the year 2012, and for this in 2013 the team plus Peter Higgs, they got the Nobel Prize. It is the only boson predicted by the Standard Model. That is incorrect. Standard Model also predicts other bosons like W and Z bosons. You do not need to know what they function, what are their functions, not at all necessary. Just know that they are not the only bosons. So for this question 25, the correct answer is A. Now we come to the next question. At the current level of technology, which among the following are being produced by scientists with the use of synthetic biology? Synthetic biology, using the biological principles in the labs for creation of organisms like bacteria, like plants, which are useful for us in our day-to-day physical activities. Okay, so we studied about recombinant DNA technology, right? Where DNA of certain organisms, they were inserted into some other organisms to produce something else, right? So that is also a part of synthetic biology. Biology that is not natural, that is created in the laboratories. So this synthetic biology, it is being put to a lot of uses, and in fact, we have created microorganisms to clean pollutants from the water. We have modified rice to produce beta carotene. Beta carotene, its deficiency in a person, leads to vitamin A deficiency, which leads to diseases like night blindness. So there is something called golden rice, which has been produced in the labs, which is a genetically modified rice, which has high amount of beta carotene. Okay. Yes, this has also been done. Yeast has been engineered to produce certain secretions that smell like rose oil. This is also done. Artificial mouse embryos have been created from just the stem cells without any sperm. In fact, in the past few days, I think in the last week itself, scientists have also created a mouse, which is an offspring of two male mouses. So all this is an application of synthetic biology, and our correct answer is D. Consider the following features with reference to kamikaze drones recently seen in the news. Now, kamikaze pilots, they were Japanese pilots during the World War, and they used to fly a aircraft which was full of ammunition, full of explosives, and they used to just crash themselves in a particular region, and the aircraft, it used to explode, killing everything around them. So they were kind of suicide bombers. Okay, so that is the history behind this word kamikaze. It's a Japanese word for suicide bombers. Now, what about kamikaze drones? Synthetic biology, I'll explain in short. It is not natural biology. It is created in the labs. Natural biology, the cotton plant, it is susceptible to bollworms. However, synthetic biology, it created GM cotton. It was created in the lab. It was not a natural variety of cotton. A small genetic material of a bacteria, it was taken and put into cotton plant so that that cotton plant became resistant to the bollworm. So all this was done in the lab. It was not a natural process. So this is synthetic biology. We are playing with the laws of biology in the labs. Now the statements for this are: these are small unmanned aircrafts that may be flown directly at a tank or a group of soldiers. Shahid 136 is an Iranian-made kamikaze drone used recently in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So this is correct. As we talked about the kamikaze aircrafts or the kamikaze pilots, they were suicide bombers. They used to crash themselves in a particular place to eliminate the people living in that area. These drones, they are unmanned aircraft. Drones are always unmanned, okay? That may be flown directly at a tank or a group of soldiers, eliminating them. So this is correct by the principle of kamikaze. This is also correct. Shahid, it is similar to a word called Shaheed. So for Japanese people, these kamikaze pilots, they were Shaheeds, okay? So Shaheed is a word that is used by Iran also, and they have produced a drone which eliminates itself, which dies itself in order to remove the enemy territory. Okay, so this is also correct, and our correct answer here is C. Consider the following statements with reference to meteors and meteor showers. Meteors are meteorites which enter the atmosphere and strike the surface of the earth. Meteor showers can be caused by the debris of comets and asteroids. Meteor showers are usually named after a star or a constellation that is close to where the meteors appear to originate in the sky. So for this is a correct statement. Meteor showers, they are caused by debris of comet and asteroids. So whenever this is the path of the earth, so earth is over here. For example, some comet has passed by from here. So it leaves certain dust particles, certain debris, So when, or any comet or any asteroid. Okay. So when Earth comes over here, this dust and debris that remains over there, it gets attracted or pulled by Earth's gravity. When this is pulled by Earth's gravity, it comes down and it burns up in the atmosphere of the Earth. So these meteor showers can be seen because of that. This is also correct. Meteor showers, they are named after the star or the constellation that is close to where meteors appear to originate in the sky. If they are appearing from there, whatever the star is there, this shower, it will be named after that. For example, in mid-December, whenever there are meteor showers, they are known as Geminoid showers because they appear to be coming from the star constellation known as Gemini. Okay. Now, what about this statement? Now, meteors are meteoroids which enter the atmosphere and strike the surface of the Earth. Now, there is something called a meteor. For example, this is Earth, this is the outer atmosphere, and this is the ground. Okay. So, this is something that is coming down, and if it strikes the Earth, that becomes a meteoroid. This is a meteoroid. And this particle that is coming in the Earth and burning itself, that is known as a meteor. If your meteorite, it burns itself in the Earth's atmosphere, it is known as a meteor. However, if a meteorite, it comes and strikes the surface of the Earth, it is known as a meteoroid. So all are same things. Basically, what is the end product? What is the end process that is happening? Based on that, they are named. So meteoroid, they are outside the atmosphere. When they come inside the atmosphere, they can either become a meteor, that is burn themselves away completely in the Earth's atmosphere, or they can become a meteoroid, that is they strike the surface of the Earth. So that is a meteoroid. So over here, this is wrong, and our correct answer here is B. In the context of DNA fingerprinting, consider the following statements with reference to polymorphism. Now, polymorphism is nothing but a fancy name for genetic diversity. Okay. Now, 99.9% of the DNA, it is same in all the humans, in me, in you, in everyone. It's same. It is only 0.1% of the DNA that leads to the creation of variety in humans. For example, someone can have blue eyes, someone can have brown eyes. So these are genes which are expressing themselves in form of green eyes or blue eyes or brown eyes or black eyes, right? Same about various blood groups. Okay. So when any gene, it can be present in multiple forms. For example, the gene associated with your eye color, for the entire population, that gene can either be brown, green, black, and so on. Okay, so that is known as polymorphism. So polymorphism refers to presence of two or more variant forms of a specific DNA sequence amongst different individuals. Okay, so this is correct. Polymorphism in DNA sequence is the basis of genetic mapping of human genome as well as DNA fingerprinting. So what happens in DNA fingerprinting or DNA testing? It is tested whether a particular person is a parent of that particular offspring. Now this 0.1% DNA, that genetic DNA, genetic material, it is transferred from parents to offspring. So whenever DNA fingerprinting is done, if there is repetition of certain genes between two individuals, that can mean that they are related to each other. So many a times when there are certain tragedies, certain people get killed and they are not identifiable by their faces. So DNA fingerprinting or DNA testing is done. So this is correct. Polymorphism is not inheritable. This is absolutely wrong. We have discussed for so long that they are inheritable. These genes, they are inherited from the parent to the offspring. Okay, so our correct answer over here is A. Consider the following statements with reference to fast radio bursts. They are powerful bursts of radiation that last for a few milliseconds. A defining property of burst is dispersion, which can be used to measure the distance of its source from the Earth. Telescopes such as CHIME project can be used to detect the FRBs. So fast radio bursts, they are very quick radio bursts, very quick burst of radio waves that are detected by the various telescopes on the Earth. So this is correct. They are powerful burst of radiation of radio waves which last for very few milliseconds, and that's why they are known as fast. This is also correct. There is a property associated with them called dispersion. When these radio waves, they are traveling through the space, they interact with the matter in the space, and depending upon that, their frequency changes. Okay, if there is also the frequency is associated with their velocity. If the frequency is higher, frequency of the radio waves is higher, their velocity will be higher. If the frequency is lower, then their velocity will be lower. So based on how much they interact with the matter around them, how much distance have they traveled, their frequency can vary. Usually the higher frequency radio waves, they have traveled smaller distance. And as there is more and more interaction with the surrounding environment in the space, the frequency lowers, and the smaller frequency radio waves, they have interacted with the larger area. Okay, so this is correct. This is also correct. This CHIME project, this CHIME project, the full form of it is available in the handout. It is Canada Hydrological something. Okay, I'm not able to understand it. I'm not able to remember the name. So this project, it can be used for detecting FRBs. Yes, this is being used to detect FRBs. So over here, our correct answer is D. Bioinformatics, which applies computers to biology, has gained significance in recent times in the field of biotechnology. Consider the following statements with reference to its application. It has led to advances in adapting treatments to each person's genetics. Now, whenever you add computers to any scientific to any science like physics, like mathematics, like biology, then that will help in increasing the speed of processing of data. So if there is an increase in speed of processing of data, our entire genome, for example, I am a patient, I suffer from sickle cell disease, but I don't know about it. So what will happen? My samples will be taken and they will be fed into a computer, and that computer will be able to identify what are the problems related to my genes. So what will happen? The doctors, they will know exactly what all problems I'm suffering from, what are allergies I'm suffering from, what all genetic problems I'm suffering from, and they will be able to provide me with a very customized treatment. So this is bioinformatics, use of computers in the field of biology. This is correct. It has led to advance in adapting treatments to each person's genes or genetics. It is also used to predict interaction between the various proteins so that accordingly drugs can be administered to various people. Okay, so this is also correct. It helps in radioactive waste disposal and plastic recycling. Now, this is a very extrapolated statement. Now, bioinformatics, it is not directly leading to radioactive waste disposal. It is helping us in studying the genomes of multiple organisms like bacteria, like plants. And through studying these genomes, we are able to identify their special properties, or we are able to identify certain properties of a particular organism and use those properties through genome editing in another organism. So these modified bacteria, modified plants, they can help us in various activities. These activities can include radioactive waste disposal and plastic recycling. So this is also a correct statement, and our correct answer is D. Over the past decades, stem cell therapy has garnered attention from the general public for the benefits it stands to offer. In this context, consider the following statements. The umbilical cord. Now, umbilical cord is the cord that attaches a child in the womb of the mother with the mother. Okay. So within the womb, this cord, it is attaching the child to the mother. Okay. And through this cord, the child is getting all the nutrition for its growth. The umbilical cord of a newborn, it is a great reservoir of stem cells which can be used for stem cell therapy. Now what happens when there is fertilization of the egg? It leads to creation of zygote, which leads to the creation of embryo. And this embryo grows into a child, right? So this zygote, it is just a clump of various cells. There is no specialization in cell. There is no blood cell. There is no nerve cell. There is nothing like that. It is just a simple clump of cells. Now these cells eventually they specialize and they lead to the creation of a baby which has a defined brain and nervous cells, which has defined heart cells, which has defined bone cells, and so on. So what does that mean? The child, it is made up of many stem cells. So there were multiple stem cells which eventually got specialized into various categories. So definitely umbilical cord, it is very rich in stem cells. In stem cell therapy, bone marrow is given more preference over cord blood for transplants. Yes, Pawan stated rightly, umbilical cord is also known as placenta. So it's so bone marrow. So our body also has bone marrow, which is located somewhere over here. It also produces stem cells, and placenta also has, or this cord also has stem cells. However, the stem cells of the cord, they are more new and they have a better ability to renew themselves or divide themselves. So stem cell, it can divide into multiple stem cell, which can divide into multiple stem cell. And then these stem cells, they can specialize into nervous cell or blood cell and so on. So the umbilical cord blood, so the umbilical cord, the stem cells of the umbilical cord, they have a better dividing properties compared to the bone marrow stem cells. So this is a wrong statement. The umbilical cord stem cells, they are more preferred over the bone marrow stem cells. Currently, stem cell therapy is extended to patients suffering from blood disorders, but not to treat patients with inherited genetic disorders. This is wrong. The stem cell therapy is used both for non-inherited and the inherited disorders. Okay. So we have to identify how many are incorrect, and our correct answer is C. With reference to Bose-Einstein condensates. So these technology, stem cell technology, it can be used in multiple diseases like sickle cell. Sickle cell anemia is one disease in which it can be used, and various other genetic and non-genetic diseases. Okay. With reference to Bose-Einstein condensate, also referred to as the fifth state of matter, recently in the news, consider the following statements. It is a superheated gas that no longer behaves as individual atoms and particles, but rather an entity in a single quantum state. So please note that the first state is solid, liquid, gas, then we have plasma, then we have BEC. Okay. And there is a sixth state which is known as fermionic condensate. Okay. So as of now, we know about 6 states of matter. So Bose-Einstein condensate, they are produced at very low temperatures. Please note, plasma, it is created at very high temperature. This is created at very low temperatures. So this is wrong. It is not a superheated gas. It is an extremely cold matter that no longer behaves as individual atoms and particles, but rather as a single identity or single entity in quantum state. Okay, so this is wrong. It is not superheated, it is super cooled, almost at absolute zero, that is minus 273 degrees Celsius. It is almost over here. Its temperature changes with the slightest interaction with the external world, which makes it difficult for scientists to study BEC on Earth. Yes, the BEC, it is very fragile in nature, and even with a slight contact with the external world, because this temperature is very difficult to maintain, the BEC can collapse. It gets converted into other form of matter. Even gravity, interaction with gravity can lead to a disruption in the magnetic field, which is used for generation of these low temperatures. So that is why it is very difficult to create it on Earth. So this is correct statement, and our correct answer here is B. Consider the following statements with reference to different techniques used to make GM crops. Transgenic plants have genes inserted into them that are derived from other species. Cisgenic plants are created by employing genes from the same species. Now, transgenic plants, so in chemistry, you must have heard of trans and the cis arrangement of molecules, right? For example, Cl, Cl are on same side. So this is cis arrangement. If they are on opposite side, this is called trans arrangement. Okay, in chemistry it is known as this. So transgenic plants have genes inserted that are derived from other species. So this is other species, they are not together. So trans is almost always other species. So this is correct. Cis is same side, right? Not the different side. So in cisgenic plants, same species. So this is also correct, and our correct answer here is C. Consider the following statements with reference to three-parent baby. The three-parent baby mechanism involves replacement of small amount of faulty mitochondria in mother's egg with healthy DNA from another woman. Child receives mitochondria only from mother and not from father. Yes. So 0.005% of our DNA is consisted in the mitochondria, and mitochondria, they always get transferred from the mother to the child, not from father. Okay, so all of you have your mother's mitochondria. Now in the three parents baby system, what happens if the mother's mitochondria is faulty, it has some genetic problems associated with it, then another woman's mitochondria, it is placed in the egg of the mother. So this is some other woman whose mitochondria is placed into a mother, and this recreated egg, it is then fertilized with the sperm. So this is called a three-parent baby. So out of these, our correct answer is D, because we have to choose the incorrect statement. So it is called three-parent baby because it has a mother, it has a father, and it has a donor of mitochondria. With reference to Artemis Accords, consider the following statements. They are non-legally binding set of principles to govern activity on Moon, Mars, and beyond. They are signed as a treaty and aim to implement the provisions of Outer Space Treaty of 1967. India is not a signatory to Artemis Accord, which is signed under the aegis of United Nations. Now, this is a wrong statement. Why? It is not signed under United Nations. It is a US-led treaty. And yes, India is not a part of this. Sorry, it's not a treaty. It is a US-led accord, to which India is not a signatory. This is also a wrong statement because it is not a treaty. It is an accord or an agreement amongst various countries to govern the activity on moon, Mars and beyond in a particular manner. So it is not a treaty. Any country does not need to change its constitution or update its constitution to implement that particular treaty. This, however, is correct. So our correct answer is, we have to choose the incorrect statements. It is C. Consider the following statements regarding gene expression in the context of biotechnology. It is the process by which information encoded in a gene is turned into a function. Physiological and environmental conditions regulate the expression of genes. The development of an embryo into an adult organism is a result of coordinated regulation of expression of several set of genes. Now, whenever you have a thought, how do you express it? You either create art, you either write something, write a poetry, or do something, right? So you have a thought and you express it in a certain manner. Same goes with genes. Now, genes, they have certain information. Your brain has information and you express it in some manner. So genes, they express their information by turning that into a function. So you are turning the information in your brain into a function, like drawing, like singing, right? So genes are also doing that. Information encoded is turned into a function. They can lead to production of various proteins. So this is a correct statement. Now, any function that takes place inside our body, like digestion of a food, like fighting of our body against certain pathogens, right? So any function inside our body is a result of gene expression. So yes, it depends on physiological and environmental conditions. If, for example, I am infected by COVID, then my body will have certain antibodies produced. Unless I'm infected by the disease, there won't be any production of antibodies. Okay, so yes, it depends on physiological and environmental conditions. If I've eaten something, only then the digestion will occur. The development of an embryo to an adult, definitely, because everything we do, even our growth hormones, they are an expression of the genes that are inside our body. So yes, development of a human being from an embryo to an adult, it includes multi-stageal regulation of genes. So our correct answer is B. With reference to Gagan, GPS-aided geo-augmented navigation system, consider the following. Its goal is to provide a navigation system over the Indian airspace and adjoining area to assist aircrafts and accurate landing. It is a joint project of AAI and ISRO. It also studies ionospheric behavior over the Indian region. Now, we talked about the storms, geomagnetic storms, right? We talked about them. They can create problems in the navigational systems as well, right? So if we study the ionosphere through which any communication occurs, so Earth's atmosphere has various layers. One of the layers is ionosphere. So it has various ions that are roaming around, and these ions, they are responsible for diverting the radio waves from one place to other. Okay, so if the ionosphere gets disturbed, the communication and navigational technologies, they also get disturbed. So that is why they need to be studied. The ionospheric behavior, it needs to be studied for having a proper navigational system, and the Gagan project will be doing that. It is a navigational system, yes, and it is developed by both AAI and the ISRO. So our correct answer over here is D. In the context of packaging of DNA helix, consider the following statements with reference to histone. Histones are a set of positively charged basic proteins in all prokaryotes. Now, there are two types of organisms. We have prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Okay, so prokaryotes, they do not have a nucleus. They have a nucleus. Okay, so in prokaryotes, this does not exist. The histones are not present in prokaryotes. Only in eukaryotes, because there is a nucleus which consists of DNA, we have histones. Now, what are histones? Histones are rich in basic amino acids lysine and arginine. Yes, histones are basic, highly basic proteins in our body, which are present in our nucleus. Okay, so this is true. Histones are organized to form a unit of 8 molecules called nucleosomes. To understand that, you need to know what is the function of histones. So histones, they act like a spool. Okay, they act like a spool over which the DNA is coiled upon. Okay, to reduce the amount of space that the DNA is taking in the nucleus. So they are basically spools. And when this histone is used by the DNA as a spool, it leads to creation of nucleosomes. So this entire structure, DNA plus the histones, is called as nucleosomes. Now, histones are organized, they include 8 molecules. Histones are composed of 8 molecules over which the DNA is wrapped around to create nucleosomes. 8 molecules of nucleosomes are not formed due to histones. Histones themselves are 8 molecules which combine with DNA to produce nucleosomes. So this is a wrong statement and we have to identify the correct statement, which is only C. With reference to satellites orbiting around the Earth, consider the following statements. The GEO satellite is positioned at an altitude higher than LEO. Number of GEO satellites required to provide satellite internet coverage across the whole Earth is less than LEO satellites. Now, there are 3 orbits around the Earth in which the satellites move. We have the lower Earth orbit, then we have the medium Earth orbit, and we have the GEO. Okay, geosynchronous Earth orbit. LEO, it is between 180 to 2000 kilometer. Then MEO is 2000 to 35780 kilometer, and anything beyond 35780 kilometer is GEO. So this is correct. Now, whenever you are at a higher altitude, you can see a bird's eye view. You can see a larger area compared to when you are at a lower altitude. So definitely the GEO satellites, they will be able to cover a larger space compared to an LEO satellite, which will be able to cover a smaller space. So this is also correct, and C is our correct. Sorry, we have to find the incorrect statement. So for 49, D is our correct answer. Consider the following statements with reference to India's drone defense dome, Indrajal. So this is a very newly developed defense dome system of India. It is the first indigenous drone defense system designed and developed by DRDO. So this is a wrong statement. It is developed by a private company based in Hyderabad. Okay. So it is not developed by DRDO. So this is a wrong statement. The rest of the 3, they are correct statement. Yes, it uses very many modern technologies like AI, like cybersecurity, robotics, and so on in order to increase the ability of its dome. It is capable of real-time situational awareness. It can know all the things that are moving around in India's airspace and can integrate with all current weapon suit and infrastructure. It can be integrated with all the missiles, tanks, and all the weapons that we have in the country. It has the capability to autonomously protect a specified area against any aerial threats. So just like the Iron Dome of Iran, we have Indrajal with us. Okay. So our correct answer over here is C. Which of the following were the aims of Human Genome Project? To identify approximately 20,000 to 25,000 genes in human DNA. Now the Human Genome Project, it was led by US. It was able to identify almost 90% of genes in human DNA. So based on the technology of that time, only 90% detection was possible. So that was the highest amount of detection of human genes that was possible depending upon the technology of that time, and that included 20,000 to 25,000 genes. Also, the information that was collected, it was not to be kept with one institute itself. It was to be dispersed amongst various industries like pharmaceuticals, like research institutes, like many other industries. Okay, so this information was to be dispersed amongst various stakeholders. So this is correct, this is correct. It also helped in learning about non-human organisms DNA sequence. So this was the base that led us to development of genome engineering, which is helping us in production of genetically modified crops, genetically modified fuels like algae, which are used for production of biofuels, and so on. Genetically modified bacteria that are used for reducing radioactive waste, and so on. Actually, Shubham, time is less and we have to cover a lot of questions. That's why I'm going a little fast, okay? I'm so sorry about that. I want to cover all the questions. So this is also correct. So for 51, the correct answer is D. In the context of defense sector, which of the following statements regarding future infantry soldier as a system is incorrect? So we are trying to create soldier as an entire system. They will have weapons like grenades, like AK-203, not Negev light machine guns. They won't have Negev light machine guns. Instead of that, they will have AK-203 guns, which are developed in association with Russia. And the plant to develop that is near Amethi. Okay, so this is a wrong statement. So the soldier will be converted into an entire system. They will have weapons, they will have protection or protective gear like ballistic helmets and ballistic goggles for protection against small projectiles and fragments, and they will also have advanced communication system so that they can know about their surroundings. Okay, so these are correct and this is wrong. So our correct answer over here is B. Consider the following statements with reference to processes and technologies used in designing the vaccines for fighting COVID-19. mRNA vaccine, messenger RNA, uses genetically engineered mRNA to instruct cells to make spike protein found on the surface of COVID virus. So there are certain proteins that are found on the surface of the virus. When that protein, also known as spike protein, it is detected in our body, then our immune system starts acting against that. In the mRNA vaccine, what happens? There is creation of mRNA. For example, COVID virus, it has a certain messenger RNA which leads to production of the spike proteins. So these mRNA, they are manufactured in labs. They are added to some other virus which is not detrimental to human health, and they are inserted into our body. When these mRNAs, they enter our cell, they lead to production of those proteins, mimic those proteins that are produced by COVID virus. When that protein is produced in our body, then our immune system, it starts acting against it. So this is correct. The viral vector vaccine delivers instruction to immune cell to create antibodies by using a modified version of different virus. So the viral vector vaccine, yes, it delivers various instructions to the immune cell. So a different virus, not this virus, not the COVID virus, a different virus is used which mimics the actual virus, and this leads to production of antibodies in the humans. In mRNA, we are just inserting the messenger RNA of one virus into another. In this, another virus is introduced which mimics the activities of this particular virus. In recombinant protein technology, teaches the body how to develop immunity against novel coronavirus by using the virus's spike protein. Yeah, just a second. So in this recombinant protein technology, what happens? The spike protein, again, it is produced in the body by insertion of any bacteria or yeast which can mimic the production of this spike protein. And this leads to production of immunity in our body. Now, DNA-based vaccines are third-generation vaccines that use engineered chromosomal DNA to induce a response against the virus. This is a wrong statement. In DNA virus, what happens? Not the chromosomal DNA, but the plasmid DNA. It is used to induce response against the virus. Okay, so any bacteria, it has a plasmid DNA and a chromosomal DNA. So chromosomal DNA, it is used to divide itself into multiple types. Plasmid DNA, it is just some information stored in the bacteria which helps it in adapting itself to the environment. Now, in this DNA-based vaccines, what is done? The DNA from the COVID virus, the RNA of the COVID virus, it is placed on the plasmid DNA of this particular bacteria, and then it is inserted inside our body. So that helps in creation of antibodies. So this is wrong. We are not using the chromosomal DNA. We are using the plasmid DNA. So our correct answer over here is A. Which of the following options is incorrect with reference to West Nile virus recently seen on the news? It is a single-stranded RNA virus from the flavivirus genus. This is a correct statement. We have to identify the incorrect statement. The principal vector is Anopheles mosquito. This is wrong. It is the Culex mosquito that is responsible for spread of disease. The birds can act both as a carrier and an amplifying host of the West Nile virus. Carrier, that is, they can carry that particular virus from one place to another, and the virus, it can multiply within these birds. However, when these birds, they come in contact with humans, there is no transfer of the disease, transfer of the virus from birds to humans. The transfer only takes place when the mosquito, the Culex mosquito, it bites this bird and then it bites this human. So it is a vector-borne disease. It can be only borne by the Culex mosquito. So this is a correct statement. West Nile virus can also spread through blood transfusion from an infected mother to her child. Yes, this is also true. So this is the wrong statement and our correct answer is B. Okay. With reference to gravitational wave, consider the following statements. Now, gravitational wave, the concept of gravitational wave, it was given by Einstein in 1916. So, according to him, the space-time, it is a entire universe is placed on a fabric of space-time, and all the celestial bodies, they are floating on that fabric of space-time. Now, gravitational waves, they are created when there is a huge disturbance in this fabric of space-time, and that leads to creation of ripples. Now, whenever you study about gravitational waves, this is a very common statement that they are nothing but ripples in the space-time. So this is correct. They are created only when two big stars orbit each other. So whenever you see this word only, always become suspicious that only, why only single thing? There can be multiple ways in which this can occur. So whenever you see this word only, always become suspicious of that option and take a look at it properly. This is a wrong statement, because they can form not just by two stars orbiting each other, but also by two black holes that orbit each other, or a body that is accelerating so fast that it creates ripples in the space-time fabric. Okay, India is building in Maharashtra an observatory to study gravitational waves with assistance from USA. So this is a correct statement, and our correct answer over here is A. Consider the following statements with reference to neglected tropical diseases. Now, because they are neglected tropical diseases, that means why are they neglected? Because they are being propagated in people who do not have many resources to conduct researches, right? So this will be a correct statement. They are most common amongst marginalized communities. These communities, they don't have the money to invest in research in order to get drugs or vaccines for a particular disease. So they are neglected tropical diseases. Now they are tropical diseases, so mainly they'll occur in Asia, Africa, and South America or Central America. Okay, so you can see that this will be always a correct answer. A parasitic neglected tropical disease called lymphatic filariasis, also known as elephantiasis, is the second leading cause of permanent disability in the world. So this is a factual statement which is actually correct. India has the burden of many neglected tropical diseases. We are a tropical country. We have high amount of poverty and hunger in our country, major challenges of sanitation. So yes, we have a lot of challenges associated with NTDs. We have, however, already eliminated certain diseases like guinea worm, which is a parasitic disease. We have eliminated trachoma, which is an eye infection, or yaws, which is a skin infection. Okay, so our correct answer over here will be B. Consider the following statements with reference to trans fats. Trans fats are created when hydrogen is removed from vegetable oil to make it more solid. So it is incorrect. For creation of trans fat, there is a process called hydrogenation. There is more insertion of hydrogen in a fat to convert it into a trans fat, which makes it solid at a normal room temperature. Trans fat, you all know that trans fats we are trying to eliminate it. In your chips packets or any namkeen packet, you see that it is trans fat free, right? So that means that trans fat is not good for our health. So this statement will be incorrect. Why? Because they are not helping us in any function of our body. They are not helping us in absorption of essential nutrients and building of cell membranes. They are actually not good for us. They can lead to heart diseases. Okay, so this is wrong, because trans fat, if you just at your surroundings, you'll see every food item is trans fat free these days, right? FSSAI reduced the permissible limits of trans fatty acids in oils and fats to 5% in 2022. This is a factual statement. In fact, the FSSAI has reduced these limits to 3% in 2021 and 2% in 2022. And WHO has also called for elimination of all trans fats in the foods by the year 2023. So this is also incorrect, and our correct answer will be B. In the context of gene editing, which of the following is most basic difference between genome editing and genetic engineering? Genome editing does not involve introduction of foreign genetic material, while genetic engineering does. Genome editing efficiently generates variants that are better yielding, more resistant, while genetic engineering does not. This will be wrong. Because whenever we talk about genome editing, genetic editing, we are trying to use it only for betterment. As of now, we haven't used it for creation of any bad things. We'll always use it for creation of varieties of plants which are better, which are giving better yields, which are better suited for stressful situations, right? So this will be a wrong statement. It is done in molecular laboratory, while genome editing is in situ editing. How can a genetic level work can be done in a plant that is just standing in the field? It cannot be done, right? We need laboratory apparatus, we need microscopes for all that. So this will definitely be wrong. Both the processes, they take place in a lab. Genetic engineering is studied under the field of conventional engineering, while genome editing is done under principle of molecular biology. Whenever genes are considered, it is always a part of biology. It is not a part of normal engineering. So genetic engineering is also a part of molecular biology. So this is also wrong. And genome editing, it is only the editing. You are just you have a certain thing, you are just editing that. You have all the parts of the video, you are just editing them. Okay, so there is no introduction of extra things. You are just editing whatever you have. In genome engineering, you are creating. Engineers, they create new things, right? You are creating new things. So there will be an involvement of foreign genetic material. So this is a correct answer. Consider the following statements with reference to white dwarf. It has a lower density in comparison to typical star. They eventually collapse into black holes. I think only 10 to 12 questions are left, okay? So we might go till 20 to 45 max, okay? Just 15 more minutes. White dwarf. Now you know that there is something called Chandrasekhar limit, okay? Now Chandrasekhar limit says that any star which has a mass which is less than 1.44 times of the sun, it will, once its fuel is over, it will convert into a white dwarf. And any star which has a mass greater than this, it will convert into a black hole. Now what happens once the fuel of any star is, it gets over, once the fuel gets over, it is not able to conduct any more fusion reaction, it collapses into itself. So what happens? It was this big as a star, it will collapse into a smaller body. And in the stars which are less than this mass, it will lead to creation of white dwarf. So white dwarf, they have a higher density. When the stars die, the resultant thing always has a higher density than the star itself. So this is a wrong statement. This is also wrong. White dwarfs, they will never convert into a black hole. Black hole is only for 1.44 times sun, more than that mass bodies. They mainly contain carbon and oxygen. This is correct, because in fusion what happens? Hydrogen atoms, they meet, they create helium, they meet, they create more elements higher up in the periodic table. So this is correct. Yes, they mainly contain carbon and oxygen as the end product. So our correct answer over here is D. With the reference to development of unmanned combat aerial vehicle, which of the following is correct regarding flying wing technology? It is a flying wing technology. Okay, so it looks something like a boomerang. Okay, it looks like a boomerang. It does not have a body. So this is an aircraft. It has a cockpit where the pilot lives, pilot sits. It has wings and it has tails. Okay, so in this technology, you can see that wings are there, the nose part is there, but there is no tail, there is no body, which is also known as fuselage. Okay, so in these types of flying wing technology, it is basically just a wing that is flying. Just because there needs to be certain amount of controls present on the wing, it has a certain thing known as cockpit which has all the controls. However, it is unmanned in nature. So it is tailless fixed wing aircraft that houses its payload and fuels in the main wings. This is correct. It is tailless in nature. It has a defined fuselage-like structure which is not found in conventional aircrafts. In conventional aircrafts, we have a body which is known as fuselage. In these, we do not have that. So this is a wrong statement, and our correct answer over here is A. Which of the following statements are the advantages of mRNA vaccines due to which they are generally preferred over conventional vaccines? No negative effects as it introduces weakened pathogens. Now, mRNA vaccines, they are not including pathogens. They are only including a messenger RNA of those pathogens inside our body. So yes, they do not have negative effect only because they are not introducing any weakened pathogens. So this is a wrong statement. They are not introducing weakened pathogens. It requires no host, such as eggs or bacteria, making it easy to scale up the production. Yes, this is true. These mRNAs, they can be directly produced in the laboratory and they can be inserted through vaccines in our body. It helps in producing adjuvants. Now, adjuvants, they are certain substances in our body which enhance our immune response system. They help in carrying the antibodies throughout our body. So they help in fast carrying of antibodies throughout our body, and that helps in improving our immune response. And yes, mRNA technology, it is known to produce these adjuvants in our body. So this is also a correct statement, and a correct answer is B. Which one of the following is incorrect with reference to FSSAI's draft notification or star rating for packaged food? Now, star rating we have for our electronics as well, right? 5-star electronics, they are best when it comes to energy use efficiency, and the 1-star electronics, they are the worst. Same thing is happening with regards to food in India. 5-star food will be best, most nutritious food, and 1-star food will be the least nutritious, okay? So this is correct. It will require packaged food to display prescribed format of Indian nutritional rating by assigning a rating from half star, which is least healthy, to 5-star. This is also correct. It will be calculated on the basis of contribution of energy, fats, and sugar, sodium, and positive nutrients per 100 gram of the food. This is also correct. This assigned to a product shall be displayed in close proximity to the name of the brand. Okay, so if you have a chips packet, here it's written Lay's, so here will be the star rating, so you can clearly see it on the package. This, however, is wrong. Why? Because certain products like milk and milk products and alcoholic beverages, they have been exempted from this star rating. So our correct answer over here is D. Consider the following statements regarding man-portable missile systems that were recently in news. This is a very factual question actually. MANPADS, man-portable air defense system, surface-to-air missile. Yes, man will be walking on the surface only. And air defense system, it will need a missile that will go into the air. So this is correct. MPATGM, man-portable anti-tank missile, guided missile. It is a portable anti-tank missile developed in India that will be launched using a tripod. This is also correct, and our correct answer is C. Consider the following statements with reference to Ebola virus disease. Now, Ebola virus disease, if you remember in 2014, there was a very big Ebola virus scare in the entire world. It is a viral hemorrhagic fever that affects a person's blood system. In hemorrhagic fever, what happens? The veins or the arteries of the human body, they start getting ruptured. So the blood, it starts leaking out of the blood vessels. Okay, so this is true. Yes, it causes hemorrhagic fever, which affects the cardiovascular part of the human body. There is no vaccine. Yes, this is also true. As of now, we do not have any vaccine. Some vaccines are in trial, but none have been approved for use. This is also true. It can be transmitted only if you are in contact with bodily fluids. Okay, only if you are in contact with bodily fluids of an infected person. It cannot be transmitted through air, water, or food. So over here, we have to choose the correct statements. All of them are correct. The tidal disruption event, often in news, is referred to. So tidal disruption event, what happens? That there is a star which is coming closer to the black hole. This is a black hole, this is a star. So what happens? The gravity is so high that a part of it starts getting attracted towards the black hole. So it looks like this. A part of the star, it is moving in the orbit, while a part of it is getting inserted, or it is getting attracted to the black hole. So it is basically a phenomena of destruction of a star by a black hole. So just to simplify it, tides, they are associated with the gravitational force of moon or the sun, right? So tides are created because of moon or the sun, right? Because of gravity, and because of that, it attracts the water on the earth towards that particular celestial body. Same thing happens over here. The star, it starts getting attracted towards the black hole, and eventually it disintegrates. Consider the following pairs of vaccines and their types approved to be used in India. Poliovirus, yes, it uses live attenuated vaccines. So there is a live virus whose functionality has been reduced. It is not that viral. Its potential to create the disease, it has been reduced. So it uses live attenuated virus. Why is this important? Because there is something called vaccine induced polio. So what happens here? This live attenuated virus, sometimes it can cause that particular disease in a person if that person's immune system is very weak. So that leads to development of vaccine induced polio. Okay, so this is correct. Typhoid vaccine, yes, it uses inactivated or dead virus. Now what is toxoid vaccine? In toxoid vaccines, there are certain toxins that are created by pathogens when they enter our body. So in toxoid vaccines, these toxins, their effectivity is reduced through the use of chemicals. The effectivity is reduced. Abhishek, Ebola is not vector borne. It is produced, it can be transferred from one person to another using bodily fluids. Vector-borne diseases, they require certain vector, like mosquito is a vector of malaria, right, of West Nile disease, and so on. So these toxins, when their toxicity is reduced, they convert into toxoids, and then these toxoids, they are inserted into human body, and our human body, it creates a response. Hepatitis B vaccine, it is a recombinant vaccine where certain RNA, a DNA, part of DNA of the hepatitis B pathogen, it is inserted in another pathogen, another bacteria or yeast which is not infectious for humans. A part of it is included over here, and this yeast or bacteria, it is inserted into human body, and it helps in producing a response against the disease. So all these are correct, and our correct answer over here is D. Which of the following is correct with reference to Shigella recently seen in the news? It is a hand-woven rectangular cotton piece of cloth and a symbol of culture and identity of Assam, which recently got GI tag. This is a wrong statement. This actually, it is Gamosa and not Shigella. It is a brain-eating amoeba. This is also a wrong statement. Yes, a brain-eating amoeba did cause a death in South Korea, but Shigella was not the name of it. It is an acute viral hemorrhagic disease transmitted by infected mosquitoes. This is also wrong. This is correct. Shigella is basically a bacteria that lives inside human body. Usually it does not create any problems for human body, but however, in certain cases where our immune system, it gets repressed, it can lead to certain gastroenteritic problems related to the stomach and digestive system. Through DNA and RNA, both function, though DNA and RNA both function as genetic material, DNA is considered better and preferred over RNA. Now, DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. And RNA is ribonucleic acid. Okay. So RNA, it consists of certain OH molecules associated with them. So what happens, these OH molecules that are associated with the RNAs, that lead to them being less stable than the DNA. So you'll wonder why human body has more, why do we talk more about DNA and not about RNA? Because RNA, they are not quite stable. DNA are very stable. We always put a benchmark at something which is stable in nature, right? In GDP calculation also, you have a base year which is very stable in nature. So we always talk about stable things, but especially for human body. So DNA is more stable than RNA. And because it is more stable, what does it mean? It will not change very rapidly. So we talk about only stable things because they do not change rapidly. However, RNA, it changes very rapidly because of this particular association. So this is incorrect. It does not mutate faster than RNA. DNA can self-replicate while RNA is synthesized from DNA. Yes, DNA, it leads to production of RNA, while DNA, it can replicate itself. Okay, so our correct answer over here is 1 and 3. Mutation, like there is a certain way in which proteins, they are present in the RNA or in the DNA. So in mutation, what happens, that particular pattern of arrangement, it gets changed. For example, albinos, they are genetically mutated compared to a normal human or a normal animal. There are certain genetic mutation which is changing the way in which they are appearing physically. Okay, so these are called mutations. With reference to Gaganyaan mission, consider the following statements. So Gaganyaan mission was announced in 2018 on 15th August. So it aimed to carry Gagannauts or Indian astronauts to the space using indigenously developed technologies. Okay, they will carry the Gagannauts in the low Earth orbit. So this is correct. Demonstration of indigenous capability to undertake human spaceflight to low Earth orbit. This is correct. Sorry. This is also correct. In news, there was a humanoid robot, a female humanoid robot known as Vyom Mitra. Now, Vyom is what? It is a Hindi word for sky, right? So, Vyom Mitra, yes, they will be sent along with the people. Orbital module will be launched by human-rated LVM launch vehicle. This is also correct. LVM launch vehicle, it was initially used to be known as GSLV Mk3, which uses a cryogenic engine, which is also indigenously developed. So out of these, the correct answer is D. Consider the following statements regarding canister-launched anti-armor loiter ammunition system recently in the news. It is a preloaded canister, or a container with loiter ammunition or a drone that once fired can remain aloft for a period of time over a particular area. Now, your teachers must have told you, why are you loitering around in the campus, in the school campus? Why are you not in the class? That means you're randomly moving in that area, right? Instead of being in a particular place, instead of being in your particular seat. So that is known as loitering. So, sorry. Yeah. So this is correct because loiter ammunition, that means that once fired, it can remain aloft for a period of time. It can loiter around that particular area for a period of time before hitting the area, before hitting your target. The loiter ammunition are pre-programmed and can hit the targets without any human intervention. Now, why will that be? We are making it loiter in a particular area so that we can see that particular area. They have a camera installed at their nose, and through this, when the aircraft it is loitering in that area, when the system is loitering in that area, we can see that entire area, and then the person behind that, they can see where they have to target, and they can target a particular place. So it will loiter until it is given a command to hit a particular place. So this is wrong, and a correct answer is A. Consider the following statements: transplantation of live cells from non-human source to human recipient, implantation of organs from non-human animal source to human recipient, infusion of tissues from non-human animal source to human recipient. What is xenotransplantation? Now, xenotransplantation, xenophobia, you must have heard about that. Phobia against people who are coming from outside, right? So xenotransplantation is transplantation from certain species which are not humans, okay, which are not like us, which are not human. So all three, any kind of transplantation, implantation, infusion of any bodily liquid, any organ, cells or tissues into humans from a non-human source, it is xenotransplantation. It is not just transplantation, please note, it also includes implantation and infusion. So our correct answer here is B. Only 4 questions remaining. Please be with me. Which of the following is correct in context of Pen Plus? This is a very factual question. So the correct answer is this. It is a strategy adopted by Africa to boost access to diagnosis, treatment and care of severe non-communicable diseases. Now, there are diseases like sickle cell anemia, type 1, type 2 diabetes, many cardiovascular diseases, asthma and so on, which are leading cause of death in Africa. Okay, so Africa has adopted this Pen Plus strategy to eliminate such diseases. Consider the following with reference to process involved in molecular biology. Translation is the process by which information is transferred from mRNA to polypeptide chain, that is creation of proteins. Transcription is a process by which genetic information is transferred from DNA to mRNA. In reverse transcription, information present in RNA is converted into double-stranded DNA. Okay. So transcript, what is a transcript? I'm saying something and the transcript, it writes that in a particular format. Okay. So something is converted into something else. So in transcription, DNA, it converts into RNA. Okay, so that is transcription. So once you have a transcript, you can convert that transcript into some other language, right? So you can translate it. So once the mRNA is formed, you can translate it into something else like proteins or polypeptide chains. So that is translation. So it starts with transcription. I'm saying something, it is getting transcribed, and that transcription, transcription is basically subtitles, okay? that transcription is translated into some other language. Okay, so this is correct, this is correct. In reverse transcription, this should happen. However, how it happens, that first a single strand DNA is created, which gets converted into double strand DNA. Okay, so generally the information is not directly converted into double strand DNA. mRNA information, it first gets converted into a single strand and then into a double strand. Okay, so this is wrong and our correct answer is A. Consider the following pairs of rare diseases and major complications. Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. This is correct. Yes, it is an ear-related complication. Alopecia. Now, if you remember last year's Oscars, Will Smith, his wife, she suffers from alopecia, which causes baldness on any part of the body. It leads to elimination of hair from your entire body. Then there is lupus. Another pop reference, Selena Gomez. She suffered from a disease called lupus, which required a kidney transplantation. So lupus is an autoimmune disease where your body, it starts hitting or it starts treating parts of your body as an external agent. Okay, so it starts acting against the parts of your body like kidney, like liver, and so on. Then there is Tourette syndrome, which is a problem related to the nervous system. What happens in Tourette syndrome, certain tics, they are created in our brain, which leads to us saying something involuntarily or acting or doing some actions involuntarily. So it leads to involuntary speaking or doing of actions by humans. Okay, so all these are correct. Correct answer is D. Now the last question. Consider the following statements with reference to hypersonic missiles recently in news. Now, hypersonic missiles, supersonic is greater than speed of sound. Hypersonic is even more greater than supersonic. Okay. So, hypersonic missiles, they function at speed of Mach 5 or beyond. That is 5 times the speed of sound. So Mach is basically the speed of sound. Mach 2 is twice the speed of sound. Mach 3 is thrice the speed of sound. Okay, so this is wrong. It is at least Mach 5 or above. It forms a layer of plasma cloud in front of its warhead that functions to block the radio waves. Now radio waves, they are used in radars to detect any missiles that are incoming. So what happens in case of hypersonic missiles, because they are going so fast, so what happens, a lot of heat is generated on their body because of air friction, and this heat, extensive amount of heat, leads to creation of plasma around it. Now when the plasma is created, what is plasma? It is basically ions, charged ions. So a lot of charged ions, they are present around it. Now these charged ions, just like that was happening in geomagnetic storms, these charged ions, they react with these radio waves and they lead to dysfunctioning of the radars. So radars, they are not able to function properly because they depend upon radio waves for detection of any incoming missile. Okay, so this is correct. This is known as a process called sorry, I'm not able to remember it. This is a process which helps in protection from detection by any radar. So all hypersonic missiles are cruise missiles. This is wrong. Both cruise and ballistic missiles can be hypersonic in nature. So our correct statement is B. So with that, we come to an end to this particular session. That was all about it. If you have any very pressing doubts, just let me know. Okay, so in very short while, I'll explain what is transcription, translation. So transcription is nothing but conversion of a DNA into an RNA. And in translation, RNA it converts into proteins. Okay, reverse transcription means reverse of this process, RNA to DNA. Now this process, DNA, you know that it is a double helix structure. It has 2 strands, right? Right? So when we do reverse transcription, first the RNA converts into a single strand DNA, then this converts into a double strand DNA. So that is reverse transcription. Any other major doubt or anything? Okay. So it's already 20 minutes beyond the lecture time. So I'll end the lecture over here. So Amit, I'll suggest you that go through all the basics of science and technology. Okay, so this was a sectional test, right? So it was mainly focused upon defense, outer space, and genetics and biology. Okay, so that is why it seemed like it is just full of these, but you have to focus on all the topics. Okay. Okay, so thank you so much everyone, and have a very good night. Okay, bye bye.